Hello, I'm Jonathan Dunksy, author of the Adam Lapid Mysteries. On this channel, I often talk about crime fiction that I read and enjoyed, and today I'd like to tell you about The Man in the Queue by Josephine Tey. The Man in the Queue is book one of the Alan Grant series. It was published in 1929, so it's almost 100 years old. And the reason why I decided to read this book is that a later book in the Inspector Grant series, Book 5, The Daughter of Time, is considered by many to be one of the best mystery novels of all time. And because I want to read that book, I decided to begin at the beginning of that series and to start with book one, The Man in the Queue. Josephine Tey, by the way, was one of the most famous mystery authors of her day, sort of one of the grand ladies of the golden age of British mystery fiction. So let me tell you a bit about The Man in the Queue, how it begins, what the story is about, the writing, and what I thought of it. The book begins with a queue to a theater show, and this queue is very long and very dense, full of people, and the description of that queue and the people in it, how they behave, how the queue is sort of alive as people, try to push a bit ahead and are pushed back, and the way that they think and the way that the queue behaves. That entire description in chapter one is a remarkable piece of writing. You can actually feel that queue as sort of a living being, and in that queue there is a man, and during the progression of the queue, in order to get tickets to a popular theater show, that man is discovered to have been stabbed in the back by an unknown person. And because the queue is so packed, the man has been dead for quite a while. He remained standing because the queue was so packed, and then he is discovered dead, and the police are called, and Inspector Alan Grant is made in charge of the investigation. And the man in the queue that was killed had with him no identification papers. He had various other items on him. For instance, he had a revolver on him, but at first there is no indication as to who he is and why he was killed. So that's the beginning of the story, the setup, and I think it's quite an intriguing setup, just that picture of a man in a packed queue being stabbed to death in the back without anyone seeing, because the queue is so dense and people are able to enter the queue and sort of leave without anyone caring about it. And so it's an interesting setup. The story itself does show its age in certain elements, and I should say that I both read the book and listened to the audiobook, and one of the ways in which the novel shows its age is that it does contain certain expressions of prejudice. For instance, one of the suspects is a man of Italian descent, and the way that Inspector Grant thinks about him is by using an ethnic slur against Italians. By the way, in the audiobook, that word was switched to a non-offensive word, which I thought was quite interesting. They made a conscious choice to change the language of the book, at least in some way, a little, to make it more palatable to modern readers. I should also say that the audiobook was read by a female narrator, which I thought was an interesting choice, given that the main character is a man and plenty of the side characters are also men. But she did a remarkable job. Her narration was just about perfect. One more thing that I found interesting is that each chapter has a heading, has a title, and at least in one of the chapters, the title sort of broke the suspense. There's in one chapter, Inspector Grant is chasing the main suspect, and it's quite a thrilling chase and very well written. But the title of the chapter is capture. And you can tell by the title that Inspector Grant will actually capture the suspect that he is chasing. And this wasn't done right toward the end of the book. There was still a lot of reading left to do, so it wouldn't have been clear from the beginning that Grant was actually going to catch this man, unless, if not for the fact that the chapter had the title of Capture, which I thought was quite strange, being that one of the main goals of a mystery, of a suspense novel, is to keep the tension, to answer questions as late as possible. Other than that, this wasn't a remarkable book, but it was quite enjoyable. The pace was very nice. You get the sort of a sense of early 20th century England. Inspector Grant is a character that is easy to read along with and to follow and to appreciate. And the side characters are also well drawn. The language, the prose, is terrific, and I quite enjoyed that. A very rich language. The ending sort of came out of left field. There were some clues that you could sort of make at least reach part of the way to the solution, but I thought it was a bit rushed. But I had a good time with it, and I plan to continue reading this series. But I may jump ahead and read The Daughter of Time next, because I'm quite keen to read that book, because it is said to be so good. So I still haven't decided if I'll read book 2 next or just jump ahead to The Daughter of Time, which is book 5, I believe. In general, if you like sort of early British mysteries from the early 20th century, I think you'll enjoy this novel. I did, and as I said, I plan on reading more Inspector Grant novels. You'll find a link in the description below to where you can find a copy of the book. And if you had a chance to read The Man in the Queue or The Daughter of Time or any other novels by Josephine Tey, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your views on any of those books. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.